All right. Moving on to the main event between Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson. And going into this fight, I kind of thought that it was going to boil down to whether Ferguson was going to be able to weather an early storm and maybe get hurt and dropped by Justin Gaethje. And how about it? It kind of ends up going the other way. How about not that? Not Justin was always able to fend Ferguson off. I mean, throughout the course of over the course of 5 rounds, he outclassed him. I mean, there were moments throughout the first round where Tony was really finding success to the body, and it was back and forth. And after watching the first round, I remember thinking, okay, we got a fight on our hands, but Justin's definitely controlling him. And one of the things that I always say is when you fight somebody who applies pressure, you have to make them pay for pressure. They're always going to keep applying it. If you're not making them pay, they're going to keep putting it on you. Justin Gaethje did a masterful job of making Tony Ferguson pay for pressure. He was cracking him with the right hand every time he came in, and he was just implementing beautiful head movement. And then when he was missing with combos, he was following them up with shots that would hit. And like I said, Tony was finding success. He found a lot of success in particular with his left hand. When they would trade, you could see that I slept on Tony's power a little bit. Like I knew he had it, but like when they would trade, I would go, oh my God, that one, if that lands, that might put Justin out. And then you get to the second round and Justin's fighting brilliantly again and Tony drops him with a big uppercut. And you think, whew, I was scoring that whole second round for Justin. But let's just I think when Tony drops him like that, it's not like Tony definitely lost the majority of the round, but he also landed the most significant shot of the round and dropped Justin and still did some work. I thought Justin fought a better round 2 than Tony did, but I felt like you still almost have to give round 2 to Tony. Round 1 I thought belonged to Justin. And you got to see too that throughout the course of this fight, all Justin did was beat the legs up and fucking go to the head. He didn't really work the body a ton, but he didn't really need to because his leg kicks were so effective. Every time he would land them, they were bothering Ferguson or they were spinning him around or throwing him off balance. And like I said, it's not like Tony wasn't finding success, but it was just like Justin just fought such a poised, and that was the best Justin Gaethje we've ever seen. He was so poised, he was relaxed. He was also like, one of the big differences was every time they went back to the corner, you got to see what a brilliant job Trevor Whitman was doing with Justin Gaethje. He had a perfect read. It was like he could see where Justin's head was going. He was like, hey, you're trying to kill him with every fucking shot, man. Relax. And that was what Justin was doing in the second round. You could see him you could even see throughout the fight after Whitman told him to kind of reel it back in. He definitely did. He was much more controlled with his striking, but he still loves that left hook, man. When he was throwing the left hook even through the third, fourth, fifth, he was still overextending on it a little bit. Like he wanted to connect with it. And he was sometimes. But after that second round, Trevor Whitman sat down and said, hey, calm. If you're Trevor Whitman too, you've got to realize that you've hit Ferguson with some bombs and that the guy's just not going to go away. And you got to see the most patient and the most professional Justin Gaethje we've ever seen. It was the perfect example of controlled violence. He was waiting on things. When he did hurt Tony, he was aware that Tony was still dangerous and he's like a caged animal in a way, and you can't really go in and rush it and force the finish. Like, he just slowly worked Tony Ferguson over, man. Impressively. He beat him. He was winning almost all of the striking exchanges. And like I said, Tony would find these mild successes, but when you got into the fourth round, it was obvious that Justin was really Tony wasn't used to being in that situation where normally by that time he's applying the pressure on guys and Justin wasn't going anywhere and still cracking them. And when you got into the fifth, man, it was like Justin had finally just dismantled him to the point where everything that Justin was throwing was super successful. And it's okay to be upset if you're Tony Ferguson. I understand you want to go out on your shield, but again, that stoppage wasn't even questionable to me. I thought that Tony Ferguson was taking he's too tough for his own good in that. It reminded me a little bit of Max Holloway and Brian Ortega. But Justin Gaethje cements himself as the greatest threat to Khabib that we've seen yet. Undoubtedly, especially when you consider his wrestling base and how great and crisp his boxing looked. Everything was so technically sharp, too. It's like you got to see this guy who finally was able to take, like I said, all that violence and aggression and put it to calculated use. It was such a brilliant performance, and he was always implementing head movement and just never got tired and just never he just constantly made Tony pay for the pressure that he was trying to apply and fought a brilliant fight the whole way through 5 rounds. And, you got to wonder if Khabib goes up against this guy. Is Khabib's stand-up going to be on the level that Justin Gaethje's is? I'm going to say, looking at the footage that I've seen, no. But is Justin Gaethje going to be able to keep Khabib off of him? Question that we're going to have to get answered. It makes the fight so much more interesting now. In a way, I'm actually kind of glad it happened, because I think that I'm kind of like, I would have loved to see Tony and Khabib, but I mean, now it's not just like Justin went out and knocked him out, kind of like I thought would happen if Justin won. Justin went out and beat Tony up over the course of 5 rounds. I mean, he cemented himself as, like I said, it's not like he just knocked him out and Ferguson was winning and he caught him with something. It was like a complete domination, and now there's no doubt about who needs to fight Khabib next. There's no doubt. And you can't help but feel bad for Tony Ferguson, a guy who rode a 12-fight win streak, and it felt like the only reason he never held a title was just a matter of timing. Khabib and Tony, the only difference between them, I mean, obviously Tony just suffered this loss to Gaethje, right? But Khabib hasn't fought Gaethje yet. And the only difference between them is just kind of like a matter of where they were at in their careers when they got the opportunity to fight for the title. I don't know. It's tough because Tony's undoubtedly one of the best in the division, but now you got to think that fights against Conor McGregor open up for him, because you need to see Khabib and Gaethje now. There's no doubt about it. You got to wonder if, like, who's Tony going to fight next? Is he going to go after a guy like Conor McGregor that could instantly propel him back to the top if he could beat him? Is he going to fight? Is he going to take a little bit of a break? He's going to need a layoff. He's definitely going to need fucking time. I don't think he's going to be ready in time to fight Conor, and I don't think Conor's going to fight somebody coming off a loss. Conor might even just sit and wait to see what happens with Gaethje and Khabib. Because if you're Conor, you're probably hoping Gaethje wins, because Gaethje is so much more willing to stand on the feet, and you got to think that that's your wheelhouse if you're Conor. A lot of different directions things could go with Tony Ferguson.